was about Palestine. You mentioned
what country
Palestine.
Is that? Oh, okay, where is that?
In the Middle East.
Wait, is it in Judea and Samaria?
I'm sorry, say that again. I can't hear you.
What country are you talking about?
Palestine.
It exists?
Yes.
Oh.
In fact, it existed before current Israel.
Oh, really?
Yes.
According to who?
According to history books.
Oh, okay. So wait, you mean Judea and Samaria, the rightful homeland of the Jews that they call the West Bank and they're currently occupying?
If you're going by religion, sure. I personally don't go by religion.
Oh, what do you go by then? Where the Arabs want to occupy?
Logic.
Oh, really?
History.
So whose is Gaza?
Gaza is a location. I'm sorry, I'm getting a call and I don't want that to interfere in the mic. Gaza's location within Palestine. But I'd like to go on to my point, if you will. Currently, Israel is actually being labeled by international human rights organizations such as Amnesty International as an apartheid state because they are attacking many people from within Palestine, and they have been the land has been stolen from Palestine. Not to say that the people in Israel do not deserve their own land. I am a believer in a two-state solution. I want to make that clear. And I also want to make clear that I do not agree with the recent incidents because there is no excuse for harming civilians. However, I do want to make
You're morally clear on that. Good.
Thank you. I do want to make clear that also Israel has captured more than 228 Palestinian children in which they held in containment. And of these, 86% were beaten. Oh, and these were, by the way, the 220 is only those that were able to be surveyed. So they were recovered. The 86% of those were beaten in detention, 69% were strip searched, and 42% were injured at the point of arrest. Additionally, I would like to add, due to your claim about dictators, that Benjamin Netanyahu has been in power since 2009, and he also held in power from 1996 to 1999. So you can argue that
there's actually a moment when he wasn't prime minister.
That's why I said
Naftali Bennett was actually, and he's duly elected. When was the last time Abbas won an election?
Say that again?
When was the last time Mahmoud Abbas won an election?
That I do currently not have.
Yeah, 8 years. They don't hold elections because they're under a dictatorship. I'm just curious because I want to try to find some clarity more than agreement because we're not going to find agreement. If Israel stopped fighting, what would happen? If they laid down all their guns tomorrow, what would happen?
Personally, I can't say. I'm not in charge of any of the leadership.
Yes, so all the Jews would be killed. If Hamas laid down...
It's not about Judaism, though.
If
Israel's actually the ones that have taken Palestine's land.
Okay,
and are
again,
killing people
I'm just trying to find some moral clarity. If Hamas laid down all of their weapons, what would we have?
There would be no more Palestine.
Peace is what we would have.
No, that's...
We would have peace.
Excuse my language, but that's bullshit. And you know
okay, so let me ask this. Why did Israel give Gaza back to the Arab Muslims? For peace. Why did they give the Sinai to Egypt?
Gaza?
For
why
peace.
Did they throw missiles over there?
No, hold on a second. Why did they give the Sinai to Egypt? For peace. Why did they give the Gaza Strip to the Palestinian Authority? For peace. Well, in Hamas's charter, what does it say?
I'm not defending Hamas.
Well, hold on a second.
Right.
You're defending the Palestinian Authority, which is partners with Hamas, and they duly elected them.
No. How is
Hamas's charter any different than Nazi Germany's charter towards the Jews?
I'm not defending any of that. And for one,
so what are you defending?
Hold on.
Exactly.
For one, I'm defending the right of Palestine to exist, which I want to clarify. I am not telling you that you're being Islamophobic by supporting Israel. I'm not telling you that you want to kill the Muslims. So trying to say that the existence of Palestine
here's a fact. Let me tell you. I think this last weekend displayed the holes in your argument. When Jews go for their high holy day, Arabs come in and kill Jews. When Arabs want to have peace, the Jews will come to the table for a peace agreement. Abraham Accords, the Oslo Accords. Any time that the Arabs want to talk, the Jews will come to the table to talk in the pursuit of peace. Meanwhile, this weekend, in a slight vulnerability, what happened? Jews are celebrating the end of Yom Kippur, the reading of the Torah, and they come in and they kill 900 Jews. And answer me this. If this was an isolated incident, why were they greeted as heroes by the people of Gaza after they killed 900 women and children?
I want to make this clear once more because you seem to not be understanding. I am not defending these actions. I am simply refuting the claims that you made earlier in this argument.
Here's the thing. I think a two-state solution sounds great if you don't actually live in reality. Let me tell you what reality is. The Arabs don't want to govern their own people. They would rather hate Jews. Every day they're saying death to the Jews, kill the Jews. They do not want to govern their own people. There is no middle ground. when they're screaming to the sky for Intifada. Israel has been at the table time and time again. Do you agree? Abraham Accords, trying to find peace, trying to sit down with Mahmoud Abbas.
The Israelites have hundreds of Palestinian children in detention. They have sent missiles to Palestine and killed hundreds of civilians. After this event, Netanyahu declared that he will send missiles to Palestine in an area where the Palestinian civilians are not able to leave.
Wait, hold on a second. You mean to Gaza?
Yes.
Right, where they actually gave warnings to apartment buildings. What kind of Israel's so bad
Gaza
that they tell people to leave before they bomb them? Hamas comes on a holy day into kibbutzes and cuts women's heads off at concerts. The moral equivalence is so different. And let me just ask you, what do you think is a bigger impediment to peace, Hamas or Israel?
If you would like, I'd prefer if you could stop interrupting me.
Well, I'm the speaker, you're not. So let me just remind you, you're a college kid. You say you came to our event. So let me just ask you a very clear question. Bigger impediment to peace, Palestinian Authority or Israel?
Israel.
Prove it.
Israel.
Tell me one situation where Israel has not come to the table. Israel has given up land. When was the last time the Palestinian Authority willingly gave up land for peace?
Israel's bombing
never,
the land
because they don't want peace. They want dead Jews. And we as Americans should never put up with the intentional extermination of Jews again in our country. Thanks for being here. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to the next question.
Argue that when you have these debates,
we're going to the next question. Thank you.
About race.
Thank you.
Why is it about it there?
We're going to take the next question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
That is closeted Jew hatred laundered through Arab talking points.
I have a disagreement about the whole Palestine-Israel thing. I promise not to take up as much time as the last person who was up here. But I'd like to open with maybe a little statement, which is that, I'm not too partial to either particular side of the political spectrum. But I think that a sad reality is when we talk about the Palestine issue, it's the Gaza Strip is 50% people under the age of 15. It's about 2 million people and about 5 to 25 square miles. And the reality of it is that Israel has said they're going to make a complete siege of the area. They've cut off electricity. They've cut off water. And that's kind of a sad reality. And the reality is they also can't leave. There's only 2 ports of entry and exit. And so as much as you or others might be pro-Israel, how do we not condemn the Israelis for taking away resources like water from a population that's the majority children? And at what point do we say that it's kind of an open genocide, right? Like when Israel, I know it's easy to...
You realize on Saturday they killed 900 Jews, right?
I understand.
One side's doing the genocide, the other side is retaliating.
One side's definitely swinging up and one side's swinging down. And I think that when you're a strip of land in which all of your water, airways, and electricity is controlled by a state, which you can't leave, and it gets bombed by missiles, I don't really think it's quite equivocal. I mean, obviously everyone here can condemn the killing of civilians, and that's not a debate that I'm going to have with anybody, left or right.
Sure.
But at what point or time, you say you criticize Republicans, but why don't we ever criticize Israel for what they're doing by turning off water? I mean, how?
Well, I'm not going to criticize. Again, let me just ask a hypothetical. Please. If Cuba came to Miami and killed 50,000 Americans, should we cut off their water? Answer the question.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, I disagree.
You think we should cut off water to
if the Cuban government came and killed 50,000 Americans, which is the population equivalent, right? Sure. So 900 Jews would be 50,000 Americans.
Yeah.
I would completely support war against a country that kills 50,000 Americans. Cuba is the same, about similar distance, right? So yes, I would restrict food, water. It would be all-out war against a country that touched our homeland.
Well, you know what they call all-out war against a populace of people that are stuck in an area? It's a genocide, right? And so as much as I agree...
No, hold on a second. No. First of all, if that was the case, why is Israel telling civilians to leave a certain area, number one?
Well, only that are allowed to leave,
hold on a second.
Right?
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. What?
Like, are Palestinians allowed to leave the Gaza Strip?
Well, they're moving to a different location of the Gaza Strip before bombardments happen. That's number one. Number two, they're already talking about humanitarian corridors being built. Did you know that? They're talking about humanitarian corridors being built with Egypt. So there's already a plan from both the Mediterranean side and the south side. But honestly, I'm not going to overly specify this because war is a really brutal, nasty thing. And you could say whatever you want about Israel. We're not going to agree on it, right?
Sure.
Israel did not invite this war.
No, I don't think so either.
Right, but they have to retaliate, and war is the worst thing humans do. Here's my prayer, that Israel doesn't overreact. Americans don't send troops, and that this is short, and that the terrorists that did this are held to justice. That's what we need to publicly say. But I am not. And you're right. There are kids that are going to die. That pains me. The heaviness should be on you. But the answer is you just kind of roll over and allow people to come into your country, into kibbutzes, into concerts, and mowing down people and say, you know, catch you next time?
I'm just not entirely sure what water has to do with the conflict, Mr. Kirk. I just don't see how the Israelis, the Palestinians, the PLO, and Hamas honestly, can use water.
Two things. Here's the issue. The Palestinian Authority is too busy spending $300 million a year incentivizing the slaying of Jews instead of actually going and purchasing water filtration services, you know, all sorts of different things there. Number two, so they build their headquarters under hospitals. It's a fact. They use the entire population of women and children in Gaza as a massive 2.5 million person human shield. That's sick. There are no good solutions here. There's not one that I'm going to say this is wonderful and beautiful and glamorous and this is excellent. It's all crummy. It's all hell. And they invited hell. And something that we like to gloss over as Westerners is we get to live in a very peaceful society, relatively, and we don't realize that sometimes you need a Dresden. And that's a really hard thing to swallow. But guess what? What we did in World War II to defeat the Nazis was 100% morally defensible. And there were people that also died. Israel has a right to defend themselves, and they're going to retaliate. And Hamas, they brought this upon themselves. They were the stewards of those women and children. And as stewards of those women and children, they said, we don't care about the women and children enough that we're going to go into the other. They knew what was. You're trying to tell me that they're shocked that they're getting bombarded and their water's cut off and their electricity is cut? No, they invited it. Final thought.
Sure. I wouldn't necessarily say they, but I do understand the sentiment, right?
Okay.
I do agree that Hamas brings it upon themselves.
But I think we can agree. Here's what I will say. I do not think U.S. troops outside of very specific special forces to rescue Americans, which I'm sure you might be able to agree with, should be involved in this conflict. Yeah. We cannot allow ourselves to get into another Middle Eastern quagmire that Lindsey Graham and Nikki Haley and Mike Pence might try to get us into. That is something we can agree with, okay? Thank you. Thank you.
While you show support for Israel, how come it's a sin for showing support or aid for Ukraine? You know, from the
Oh, that's a good question. That's actually a really good question. So, two totally different situations. Number one, when it comes to the attack, when Russia invaded Ukraine, not morally justifiable, they went for military targets, first and foremost. Were there civilians killed? Yes, there were also civilians killed. But their intent has been throughout to kill military targets in the theater of war. Hamas did something completely different. They went on a murder spree intentionally of civilians and women throughout all of that. Number two, I think we must look at this completely different, you know, from geopolitics. I don't think that we should try to antagonize Russia. I just don't. I think that Russia being a neutral hedge against China, as Donald Trump had them, is a very smart geopolitical position. And trying to create an enemy out of Russia makes little to no sense. But actually, my position is actually very similar. I think no U.S. troops in Ukraine, no U.S. troops in Israel. So it's actually pretty consistent. But if you're going to ask me where I am more likely to morally cheerlead, yeah, it's the country that just had 900 of their people, which is a 50,000 person equivalent, literally slayed in the streets, slayed in a concert. And I will say this, I believe that as a Christian, I have a moral obligation to protect the holy sites and access to the archaeological digs in the Holy Land. One of the main reasons why I support Israel, and this is not going to be persuasive to everybody, is that being able to prove that the Bible is true is a very important thing as a Christian. There is a nonstop war to destabilize and deconstruct the holy word of God. There has never been an archaeological discovery in Israel that has disproven the Bible. There is a lot of evidence that shows that when Arabs take over holy sites, they do not allow Christians to go to them. And I'll prove it to you. It's very hard for Christians to go to the birthplace of Christ, Bethlehem. It's controlled completely by Arab Muslims. It's very dangerous. You could still go, but it's not easy. I think it would be a tragedy that I will not be able to bring my daughter to the Garden Tomb or the Church of the Holy Sepulchre or the Mount of Olives or the Mount of Beatitudes. So they're two separate things. I think that Israel plays a very important role in Western civilization, and especially me as a Christian as well.